Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports, coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And them good old boys down south, I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond, in London, England, as well as Paris, France. Of course, you good old boys in Canada. You know we love you in Africa, the Big C tribe, but there's no one we love more than the good old boys down south, in the land of the free and the home of the brave, on a beautiful February 13, 2019. Big C, how's it going for you good old boys down south?
Charlton, we've got the February 13th. Half this month is over already, seems like.
Yeah.
But you know, we're basking in a world of sports all over the place, Charlton.
Yeah.
We got so much talk of interest in basketball, football, even baseball. Catchers and pitchers are reported to spring training.
Yeah.
And even the NHL is still playing hockey.
They still playing hockey. All the rain in California is melting all the hockey rinks here in California. I know they play them outside every now and then at Yankee Stadium in New York City. They'll also play hockey outside in Green Bay. They'll play it in Chicago. They play at a lot of places, but right now we need the rain and to chill some of the. It's just great. California's flooding, but people aren't used to it when it rains down here. And I love it this time of year. It makes everything green in the Golden State. A lot of things going on in basketball. A lot of things going on in the broadcast universe. A lot of people putting in their own opinions about what style of flavor they like. Some people like their beer cold. Some people like it room temperature. Some people like their champagne, chilled. You like your red wine room temperature. Some people even put ice in that, Big C. But I do want to say this segment sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. When you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you. I think for Black History Month, there's so much that we are grateful for. I don't think mainstream even understands how many accomplishments have happened in Black American history without people making it knowledgeable. I mean, it's not necessarily taught in the schools, Big C. You got to go out and find it on your own. And there's nothing wrong with that. You got to read. But I want to get your thoughts on two things. I want to ask you about Sojourner Truth. But before I even ask you that, look at how our climate is today. We can talk about anything we want. For the most part, whether it's sports, politics, religion, we're not typecast into one set of genre. I want to get your thoughts on why is it that when men of color can do something that's a little bit different, they'll come out and say how they hate the people, not the work. Mix to your thoughts.
Well, Charlton, I mean, the dog whistle of racism is even in broadcasting. When we think about sports, it's in sports. I mean, you use Colin Kaepernick as an example. That was just pure out racism.
Yeah.
White broadcasters, white announcers can do and say anything they want.
Yeah.
And they're never ridiculed for it. I mean, you put a broadcast on with all black athletes, Charlton.
Yeah.
And people want to scrutinize every aspect of it.
Yeah.
These are former athletes giving you an athlete's input on something, just like an analyst anywhere. No one says Tony Romo talks too much, but he's white.
Yeah.
And there's been plenty of white analysts. I mean, Jason Witten is lost up in the booth at ESPN on Monday Night Football.
Yeah.
That stage is too big for him.
Yeah.
But he was white. Booger McFarland actually should be doing the game analyst in that situation, and Jason Witten should be on the sideline.
I agree.
But Jason Witten's white, so you want him inside, out of the cold. And so when you look at these broadcasters, I mean, you got a guy out there that you guys see all the time, Bill Walton.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Bill Walton's popping Quaaludes or smoking weed prior to a podcast. Man, that's just my opinion, okay?
Yeah, right.
Because, I mean, Bill Walton, you swear he's at Woodstock,
so
when he's doing a podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, he's talking about things, Charlton, that it has nothing to do with the broadcast.
Yeah.
Only Dick Vitale can do that.
Yeah.
Bill Walton is an archaic buffoon on a broadcast, and I'm saying that. I mean, we all have our opinions as far as what we want to do, but he's accepted because he's considered one of the great white basketball players ever.
Yeah.
So they give him a pass on everything. You think about a broadcast he did last week, Charlton. Think about the criticism that would have come over a black basketball broadcaster, Charlton, if he had stuck an entire cupcake in his mouth with the candle lit.
Yeah.
That's what Bill Walton did during a broadcast.
Yeah.
Was there any national ridicule of Bill Walton for committing a buffoonish act on television, Charlton?
No.
But think about the ridicule that a black analyst would have gotten, Charlton, by sticking an entire cupcake in his mouth with the candle lit. The first thing came out, they said, well, he had to be high on drugs or something
right.
to put fire in his mouth.
Right.
You know, but with Bill Walton, Charlton, this is acceptable. You're right there in the Bay Area. He does Pac-12 games.
Yeah.
There was no ridicule from the broadcasters on the West Coast of Bill Walton.
Nope.
They sit back, listen to him, even though you can't understand what he's talking about half the time.
Right.
But they listen to him and they accept it. They're like, wow, that's the great Bill Walton. No,
right.
that's the has-been Bill Walton. I mean, you would never see Bill Russell demeaning himself like that on a broadcast, Charlton.
No.
You would never see the great Dr. J, belittling himself on a broadcast like the great Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Yeah.
Magic Johnson, even with all the public ridicule he has, he would never belittle himself like that on a broadcast. And let's look at Larry Bird. Larry Bird would never walk out there in the light that a Bill Walton does, and they both were teammates with the Celtics. And do that type of public display, Charlton, that would belittle himself.
Well, I got to bring up something because we keep it real. Everybody has opinion, and I love when people don't agree. Don't you hate when people have a debate and they both agree on the same thing? Don't agree on everything. And this is when the rubber meets the road. Because I think anyone's open to criticism. We get criticized all the time. I mean, not every.
I love it, man. The greatest thing for me, Charlton, is to be criticized.
Right.
That means you're paying attention to what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm not going to appease everybody, Charlton.
Nope.
It's like your kids.
Yeah.
You don't appease them all the time, and they don't appease you all the time.
Nope.
But you love them.
Yeah.
And you appreciate having them around.
Yes.
I appreciate criticism, Charlton.
Yeah.
Because that lets me know that I've stricken a nerve in somebody.
Yeah.
That is paying attention to what I'm saying.
Well,
and what I said had meaning, Charlton.
Yeah, that's why we just got rid of, finished watching the Grammys, and as successful as J-Lo is, she came on us in criticism. Not everybody's going to like what you do. There are people who don't like Jesus, especially when they read he's black. In Revelation chapter 1, verses 14 and 15, the book of Daniel 7 and 9 and 10 and 6, and Colossians 1 and 15, Christ was a man of color. Even the late Billy Graham talked about that, and they told him, Nixon says, stay out of politics, okay? He's too honest. I think that was funny when he said Jesus was black. They disinvited him from the White House. That's crazy, but you can Google it if you read the Bible. Something that came up, and it's been happening all over, at least Northern California. I'll just assume it's happening all over the country. This broadcast of the Golden State Warriors last night with the Utah Jazz. And they had what's called players-only broadcast. Isaiah Thomas was one of the play-by-play guys, and they had two analysts there. And I think part of it is satire, but mainstream's all been out of shape, as if they're trying to replace, some of the regular play-by-play guys. It's called player, and this is just my opinion. I could be wrong. They have that segment so people can relax. But I have a lot of uptight mainstream guys that happen to be Caucasian, and they know what I'm going to say is true. The reason they have their job is because they have white skin. Not because they played NBA basketball. I'm not saying all, I'm saying pejoratively. Because they have white skin, and there's a good old boy network that will hire a white guy. There's some guys who are horrible on the radio. They can't talk without a script. In fact, most of them couldn't even produce a show without a producer. They're not that talented, but they're white, and they're all over the place. And what I'm saying is true, especially the white guys. It's true. They'll hire a former NBA player, if it's covering basketball, to give them the real facts of what happens in the game. Okay? As long as the white guy's the leader, they're happy with it. They want a black guy that can't speak that well for the most part. One that laughs and, you're right, man. Hey, you're right. Hey, man, you're right, man. I agree with everything you say, man. You're right. They want that guy. So the players only thing, and I'll throw it to you, the players only thing to me is not about trying to become the A-team. It's about a chance for men to sit back and relax so you don't have to always hear that uptight guy that's so anal and got a job because of his skin color. They did what Bill Walton does. Bill Walton been doing it for years. Never been told, get that guy off the air. I can't listen to him. Now they're all trying to get all these black guys off the air instead of Bill Walton, who does it for years. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, when you look at mainstream broadcasters, they see that as a threat. When you're putting in a players-only format, is that you're sitting back, and it's like sitting in the barbershop. It's like having a conversation about what you see.
Yep.
That's what the players-only format creates, Charlton, is that they're not sitting there with somebody, getting stoked because something heavy is dropping back, he's crossover dribble. They're telling you the nuances of the game, Charlton.
Yeah.
What they recognize, how they would have handled a situation.
Yep.
Which is genuine. When you sit there and you listen to all of these broadcasters, Charlton, who's gone to broadcast school, broadcast journalism.
Not all of them. Not all of them, trust me.
But that's what they say, to become an announcer.
Right.
And they sit up here, and the rhetoric that they spew all the time, Charlton, I don't know if people understand, but when you look at a game, Charlton, and you have a play-by-play person.
Yeah.
He has a spotter directing him in what he's doing, whether it's basketball, football, baseball, hockey, Charlton.
Yep.
He's not seeing everything. He has somebody in his ear. He has a producer, he has a director, and he has a spotter. He has three people orchestrating for him, Charlton. He's actually the lead puppet is what he is in a broadcast.
Yeah.
And that's all these young guys that you got coming along. They're sitting there because you can't recognize all what goes on the field. What an analyst does, Charlton, a game analyst, is that he surveys the game.
Yeah.
He's not looking for the up-tempo. He's watching the movement on the court. He's recognizing things. When you talk about somebody like Isaiah Thomas,
Yeah.
this guy was a point guard, Charlton.
Yep.
So he sees the court. He has that vision from
Hall of
high school,
Famer.
college,
Hall of
professional.
Famer. Yeah.
He was also a head coach in the NBA, Charlton.
Yeah.
So he recognizes what goes on with the game. He explains to you basketball 101.
Yeah.
Where you get a guy, Charlton, these white guys who want to criticize black athletes all the time. They want to say the standard is different, which it is. As a broadcaster, Charlton, when you have that pale skin,
Yeah.
you have the advantage of making mistakes and getting away with it.
Yeah.
If there's a black athlete, Charlton, that's doing something, he makes a mistake, he's called out on it.
Yeah.
And you can see that in broadcasts all over the place, Charlton, whether it's football, basketball, baseball. White analysts, Charlton, get away with anything.
Yep.
Black athlete, you make one verbal mistake, Charlton, it's on the internet.
Well, I think because we're so real, and in California, you see some of everything. If someone does a good job or a bad job, it's in the eye of the beholder. Like I'm going to make a stupid statement. It won't be the first one. Sometime in California, you see a lot of really beautiful women, and there was an old guy that looks like he could be her father. And some of these broadcasters know what I'm talking about. They date women half their age. And you know that woman's only with him for the money. She's not with him because she loves him, how he looks. But people say, hey, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. So and some of these guys know exactly, they look at their wives, they're younger than some of their daughters. They know what I'm talking about. But when it comes to broadcast, I don't think what TNT is doing is trying to say, here's our A team. They're saying, here's our players only. If you look at the words players only, that's what it means, players only. It's a time to get away from that uptight guy who's so anal, who got his job because he is Caucasian. And if I'm wrong, tell me the color of your producer that hired you. They know they're all white. It's a good old boy fraternity.
Well, Charlton, think about when there's players only in the locker room.
Yeah.
And who's bombarding them all the time? Generally, the white media.
Reporters, yeah.
Which is 90 to 95% of the media that walks in a locker room.
Yeah.
Isn't the same dumb questions asked over and over when they sit there? And no one criticizes me. Well, we're just doing our job. We got to ask the question.
Right.
Okay, 5 of you have to ask the same question. You got to keep reiterating the same question game after game, Jonathan.
Yeah.
It's like Kevin Durant. When he went off at the media last week, and he really didn't go off, he made a statement.
Yeah.
And everybody called him angry because he made a statement. As an athlete, black athlete, you're not supposed to be able to respond.
Yeah.
Think about what your cousin got a couple of years ago as far as negativity.
He's not my cousin.
in Washington, when he said, how you like that, or whatever he said.
You like that? You like that? Yeah.
No one beat him down, Charlton.
No.
He's been a losing quarterback ever since.
Yeah.
But no one beats him down for saying you like that. They gave him $84 million guaranteed, Charlton.
Yeah.
Because he was a loser and he made a statement.
Yeah.
when a black player makes that, you like that statement.
Yeah.
Oh, he's being cocky. He's being
Braggadocious,
arrogant.
yeah. Who do you think
know,
you are?
That's all he's being. You know, he just can't answer the simple question.
Yeah.
It's always
Yeah.
labeled that way, Charlton.
Yeah.
So, you know, media understands and listeners understand. Anybody's listening to any sports broadcast. How many times have you heard the same question in a week?
Yeah.
You have to ask yourself that when you sit there and you got even the sideline reporters after a game, Charlton.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the most egregious things that's done to athletes right after a game. Well, what do you think the turning point of the game was? Hell, when we went ahead, don't you think so?
Yeah.
You know, did you think that you would make that last shot? No, I felt I'd just go to the locker room and not take it. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, I want to see an athlete one time answer the way that the question is asked, Charlton.
Yeah.
The stupidity of the questions is constantly put on athletes. And 98% of those, Charlton, are posed towards black athletes.
Yeah.
I don't see often enough, Charlton, that these sideline reporters are running to a white athlete, Charlton, and asking these buffoonish questions that they ask of the black athletes. I mean, when Nick Saban gives you a short two-word answer, or Bill Belichick, it's acceptable.
Yeah.
When they're rude to the media, it's acceptable.
Yeah.
But let a black athlete do it, Charlton, and they vilify him.
Or even when he yelled at Maria Taylor, said, "Don't ask me that question anymore." They tried to make amends by putting them in a commercial together where he was being paid to be nice, but he had a real attitude when she asked him a simple question, and he went off on her the way he's never done to a white lady on TV. And I just want to say about who you like. You can love who you want. You can date who you want. You can marry who you want. You don't have to like the same flavor Kool-Aid. That's why they have different flavors Kool-Aid.
They got Kool-Aid?
They got different flavors Kool-Aid out here, Big C. I know you put the shine in yours. It's called Shine-Lade. Well, you guys do it down south.
Well, we always use the phrase, you can't bring Kool-Aid to a gin party, okay?
Exactly. But I just want to touch on something because Trump's talking about building a wall. And I heard some, being here in Northern California, San Francisco is a gorgeous place. All of Northern California, from Sacramento to San Francisco, Oakland, San Jose, it's gorgeous. It's beautiful. It's diverse for the most part. But when I hear people calling on these talk shows, they got to keep something in mind. Those programs are there to entertain, okay? But some of these callers that call in, they have that tint, that want to be racist tint, the stuff they say in private they won't say out in public. But sometimes they'll slip it by on the radio. It misses that guy with the kill switch, and it slips in. Now I'm just going to assume by the voice the man's Caucasian. And I've heard a number of them, so I just, tune it out, but I've heard it all my life. Hey, maybe they should just get some guys that like they're in a barbershop and sit on the side of the floor and do the game and have, people bring some fried chicken. That kind of garbage. Now, I've told every black man that will ever listen, it doesn't matter how great you are, how much money you make. A lot of mainstream has been trained since they've been born. Number one, they was told that Jesus was white, which is a lie, and the churches haven't corrected that. That's why I tell them, Revelations 1:14 and 15, Book of Daniel chapter 7, verse 9 and 10 and 6, Colossians 1 and 15. Read it. See what color Christ is. Because Christ had the complexion as many of these athletes that are being chastised. I think that players only is for enjoyment. They're not replacing anybody on the A team. Just like Bill Walton.
Well, Charlton,
Bill Walton's the A team, though. He's not being replaced.
But look at this.
Yeah.
Why don't they do a white players only and see how that resonates with the listening and viewing audience? There's a reason why they don't do a white players only, because they don't feel that there's enough quality retired white players out there to do it, Charlton. The media creates this. So they're saying to themselves, we can't find enough former white players that people want to watch or listen to. That's what media is saying.
Wow.
And the people that are ridiculing the black players that are there are mad about that, Charlton, because you're giving black players, former black players, a platform.
Now
so you get this negative spin-off behind it.
And I love that thought too. Again, you're from the South, so you see things. I'm the West Coast. We see things maybe the same or sometimes differently. It's okay. But for the African American analyst that's mostly given an analyst position, they want a former player to break down what the player feels or sees. That player has to know how mainstream really feels about you. If you have an opinion, they want you on there to be dumbed down and ancillary to the play-by-play guy, unless you're Tony Romo, who upstages Jim Nantz all the time. If he were a black man doing that, he wouldn't be on the air again. I'll just get this one more thought, and we'll just pass it on to what I want to bring up on Sojourner Truth. I hope that people can give the same type of criticism to Bill Walton, because he's hired to be the A team for Pac-12. He's not the guy that comes in as, players only broadcast, and he's a joke, but he's still making millions. I've never heard white media jump on him, though. They just pat him on the back and say, well, that's just Bill being Bill. And they take a black Hall of Famer that's doing a players only, which is not to be as anal in your broadcast, and they're saying, I'll never watch TNT again. They need to get him off. They should fire all those guys. No, look at the guys who hired you. They have your same skin complexion, and whoever told you that your garbage is good. Big C, your thoughts.
Well, Charlton, as I sit up and I get ridicule, and I hear ridicule of broadcasters throughout the South that are minorities all the time, Charlton.
Yeah.
But, show me the white guy that does better. That's my point. They get replaced like everybody else, and no one even thinks about it once they're replaced.
Yeah.
Once they slide away. I mean, when they're slipping on air, they're slipping. A lot of them have had chemical dependency problems.
Yep.
And they've been moved on.
Google it.
But when you think about the criticism, Charlton, that black broadcasters and black athletes get, if you're a black athlete, Charlton, and you're stopped for a DUI and you have a physical altercation with a couple of people,
yeah,
you get suspended by your league, don't you?
Yep.
Okay, you take Jack Gruden, the son of Washington Redskins head coach John Gruden, Charlton.
Yeah.
Gets arrested last night in Virginia.
Yep.
Having a physical altercation.
Yep.
He's drunk also in public, Charlton, and he's arrested for this.
Yeah.
Is there a big cry in mainstream? Does it make the headline, Charlton?
No.
On every sports broadcast?
Nope.
This is a guy who's working on an NFL coaching staff.
Yep.
But we hear about Antonio Brown getting convicted of speeding.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
You think about that. Antonio Brown was speeding in a car. Gruden gets in a fist fight with another male, gets arrested, and there's no whistle in the media, Charlton. It's kept quiet.
Yeah.
What will the NFL do to him? Will they give him a 4 or 6 game suspension for violence, Charlton?
Probably not.
Will he have to go to counseling? Or will he be right back on the Redskins coaching staff when they start 2 days?
Yeah, he'll be right back on the staff. And I love when people don't agree. I love it. And it doesn't matter what color you are. So I hope that mainstream doesn't say, oh, they're just defending the black guys. No, I defend right and wrong. I don't care what color you are. I just told you that. But I'm honest. Big C Sports is honest. Whether you're black or white, we'll still call you out. We say fact check us. And I challenge any broadcaster that's wanting to say to a network, get somebody off the air, have them fact check your work. Have them see if you've ever had a DUI. Have them check into your background. Have you see if you've been accused of spousal abuse as you want to accuse other people. I just hope that people can be transparent. If you make a mistake, say, hey, I apologize, forgive me. People are very forgiving. But I just hate this tone. If you don't like somebody, say you don't like them. But don't come on and insult, well, the guy's not articulate. He doesn't know how to speak the English language very well. He just doesn't, he's not one of us, Bob. That stuff is garbage, and the white guys know it. I'm going to change it by calling attention to it. We can all sit down and have a libation once it's done. Big C, Sojourner Truth. You don't think she came under some criticism? Born in 1887, was the first African-American abolitionist and women's rights activist. She was born into slavery. Now, mainstream, they just think that everything's easy. Imagine born into slavery and she still had more character than a lot of people who've even served in our Oval Office and serve in politics today, Big C. Born in New York, she escaped with her infant daughter into freedom in 1826. After going to court, she received her son in 1828, became the first black woman to win such a case against a white man. She lived to be 103 years old. Now, I just want to make sure she was born actually set in 1797. And I want to just make sure that everybody who understands what type of resistance you go through in your own life, this woman was fighting to survive. This woman had her children taken away from her. And just like some of the African-American men that do sportscasts today, that will get mainstream to criticize them, not for their lack of knowledge, but they don't speak like a white man. And so they're not used to that. They're not used to taking orders from somebody who doesn't sound like them or their fathers. Well, get used to it. The world is changing. There's a lot of black men that don't want to take orders from white men either. but we meander and assimilate the society. At the same time, we don't say fire white guys because they don't speak like us. But I hear a lot of this tacitly consenting to racism and bigotry coming out of the mouths of people by saying, well, he's knowledgeable, but he's just not articulate. He doesn't speak like us, Bob. But they're kissing your butt when you got the uniform on, want your autograph, want you to kiss their kids, hug their kids. Hey, can you sign an autograph for my daughter? But when this comes to getting paid money, they want to say, well, we don't know if he's one of us, Bill. Your thoughts, Big C, on Sojourner Truth.
Well, Charlton, when I think about Sojourner Truth during Black History Month, and we've had so much talk in America over the last 2 years, Charlton, about the Me Too movement.
Yeah.
Women taking charge in life. You got to think about this movement, Charlton, was started by a black woman.
Yeah.
Back in 1828.
Yeah.
You think about this, Charlton. 1828, Sojourner Truth started the Me Too movement, Charlton.
Yeah.
Born into slavery, as you say, became a pioneer for women's rights, Charlton. Challenged white society in court and won the rights to get her son back, Charlton, from slavery.
Yeah.
You think about a black woman, Charlton, taking a stance in the most virile of times in America.
Yeah.
When they were killing black people like it was lunch. And people say, well, things that was different then. No, it still happens today. But as everybody wants to celebrate this Me Too movement, talking about who started it, this is another invention that was created by a black woman, Charlton, that had led to rights for white women in America. And all women in America, Charlton. And she was buried in the history books, Charlton. People don't want to acknowledge her. Mainstream white society does not want to acknowledge Sojourner Truth for the path that she took of life, Charlton. In courage and dignity and diversity, Charlton. Doing all of what she could do to help all people, Charlton. You think about that. Here's a woman fighting for her children that have been taken away. Think about how many people still today, Charlton, that the government takes their children away. And they have to fight to get them back. Sojourner Truth was a trailblazer in that, Charlton. There are so many people that are taken away, so many children that are taken away from their parents for various reasons, Charlton, that the government holds on to. White society. You know, legal kidnapping is what it is, Charlton. When you take these kids and you're making money off of them, I think that's akin to slavery. You know, that you're making money off of somebody's kids, Charlton. You know, but you know, society doesn't want to acknowledge what black society has meant to current day society, Charlton. Sojourner Truth, a true leader. I mean, she was a woman of her name, Charlton. She lived the truth. She, you know, she was an abolitionist. She was a woman that felt that blacks should have equality in America, Charlton. And she spent the rest of her life accomplishing that for us.
And I agree. And again, all life came from the African continent. That would be my matchup for 2019. I want you to Google it. If you don't trust science, at least trust some science. Okay, you can trust science. Google it, because if people know the truth, then it has to end racism, because how could you hate your seed? That's like the top of the pine tree hating the dirt that is planted in, Big C. All life came from the African continent. And the dominant seed, which is called black, produced every color on the planet. That's a fact. If people know that, maybe you start saying, maybe we should sound more like them instead of them sounding like us. I just hope that we can be honest with it. To me, I love being open. I love being able to say what I feel is right, and then challenge myself by saying, Google if I'm wrong or right, because I'm willing to be corrected. I think people can do that, Big C. Tomorrow marks the first one-year anniversary of the school massacre. Unfortunately, Parkland, Florida, at Stoneman Douglas, a high school, 17 Americans lost their lives due to gun violence. I remember POTUS saying he's going to do whatever he can to help end gun violence and, you know, shout down the NRA, and he took the $30 million, I forgot who they were, didn't get the money back. But Americans lost their lives due to gun violence, not because there was not a wall. Okay, building the wall did not stop or would not have prevented Stoneman Douglas. And that's from mainstream that says, build that wall, build that wall. The wall had nothing to do, or a lack of a wall had nothing to do with that massacre. Just give me your thought on the white male gun violence. And POTUS said he'd make a change, and nothing's happened. But we find time to criticize Isaiah Thomas on the network with mainstream. Your thoughts?
Charlton, we had 338 school shootings in 2018 in America. Land of the free, home of the brave. And none of those shootings would have been prevented, Charlton, by putting up a wall. They were done by disgruntled white males. When you look at every mass shooting that took place in America last year, Charlton, it was done by a disgruntled white male. Google it. Look, Google it. It's there. But the president, a week after Stoneman Douglas shooting, Charlton, invited people to the White House.
Yeah.
Didn't know what to say, had no compassion, because he was sitting there thinking about the $30 million he had gotten from the NRA, Charlton.
Yep.
He could care less about human lives, Charlton,
Yeah.
of those kids and those parents that were harmed
American
down in
lives.
Florida, Charlton.
Young
He didn't
Americans.
care about that.
Yeah.
And, you know, he said he was going to do what he could do to help end gun violence, Charlton. He's passed nothing. He signed nothing.
Yeah.
You know, you think about these mass capacity magazines, Charlton, that these crimes are committed with, Charlton. The president can easily, since he likes to use his Sharpie all the time, sign an executive order
Yeah.
to eliminate those mass capacities, you know,
Those
guns. He
but
can.
Yeah.
But he doesn't want to do that, Charlton.
Yeah.
You know, what is the value of American life? There was this thing, and it's always been going on, Black Lives Matter. All lives matter,
All lives
Charlton.
matter. Yeah.
And especially the lives of our children in the country.
Yeah.
They are our future. But when people can walk into a school, and we had one last week in Baltimore, Charlton,
Yeah.
a school shooting. And the president, he's all this rhetoric about we need to build a wall. He said nothing about the abolishment of max capacity, guns, Charlton.
Right.
You got to get rid of those magazines, Charlton. Why do you need a magazine that holds 30 to 100 rounds?
You don't.
I can't understand it.
No.
You can't shoot a duck or a deer with that. There's nothing left.
Yeah.
So you're going to let people walk around on the street. I mean, think about the shooting that happened in Vegas at Mandalay Bay, Charlton.
Yeah.
Under the president's watch.
Yeah.
He doesn't mention that anymore. He does not mention anything to his base about the mass shootings that occur in America. Why? Because there are white males doing it, Charlton. But he wants to make everybody believe that every mass shooting in America was somebody came across the southern border.
Yeah.
We're not dumb as Americans. At least I hope we're not.
No. We're not.
Google it and find out which one of those mass shootings occurred with somebody crossing the border.
Yeah.
But if you do get an illegal Charlton that commits a crime in this country, he will use it.
Yeah.
He will plaster his Twitter account at every one of his rallies with that, Charlton. Even the State of the Union speech,
Yeah.
he used that. But he did not apologize to those families of Stoneman Douglas Marjorie Mason High School in Florida for what happened to them a year ago, Charlton, nor did he apologize for any of the families, Charlton, of what happened in Las Vegas. And some of those people that were in Las Vegas, Charlton, were also involved in a shooting that happened in Southern California
Yeah.
at a college nightclub, Charlton.
Yep.
So the president doesn't want to address what white men do that are venomous in this country, Charlton, killing American citizens.
Yeah, I know. I still hear more talk about a players-only broadcast than I do about kids losing their lives on that. And so talking about things makes it better. So it's not about black or white unless you're mainstream and you hire people, because most of the broadcast companies are all white. I mean, you might find one person of color that dominate the game having a job. There'll be like one. That's the color analyst. The rest are all Caucasian for the most part. And if you're not wrong, then prove it. Okay, just prove it. We see 25 games remaining in the NBA season, regular season. Lakers are 1 game below 500, 2.5 games out of 8th place in the West. I think there's a way we can watch what the NBA does to orchestrate, and I think it's, people can say what they want to say, but I think they will orchestrate a way for the Lakers to not have LeBron James sitting on the sideline watching the NBA playoffs. I may be wrong, I'm even cynical, but I don't think they're going to have him on the sideline watching the NBA playoffs this year. I think you'll find a way for the Lakers to get in, but I could be wrong. But I want your thoughts on either way. If the NBA uses their prodigal player, like the NFL has Tom Brady, the NBA has LeBron James. They don't want Tom Brady sitting at home watching the playoffs, and they don't want LeBron James sitting at home watching the playoffs. I want to get your thoughts, and if that's accurate or not, Big C, go right ahead.
Well, they suffered a devastating road loss last night in Atlanta, Charlton, to the Hawks.
Yeah.
One of the hapless teams in the NBA.
Yeah.
but they're 2.5 games behind the Sacramento Kings there in the Western Division for that final spot.
Yeah.
Now, the Kings are ahead of schedule as far as people are saying and potentially making the playoffs.
Yeah.
Will they make the playoffs, Jonathan? Which is the better revenue stream? Having the Lakers in the playoffs, Jonathan, or the Sacramento Kings? And from a national perspective, Jonathan, I don't think anybody knows 3 players on the Kings.
Yeah.
But they do know who's on the Lakers.
Yeah.
Lakers are a primetime broadcast, Jonathan. Whoever you match them up with in the playoffs, those games are going to be broadcast.
Yeah.
And if they make the playoffs, Jonathan, they're going to get past the first round most likely.
Oh, yeah.
Unless they're playing the Warriors.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the only way they would not get past the first round, playing the Warriors.
Well.
But, as far as for the NBA and the overall marketing, Jonathan, that move to Los Angeles by LeBron, Jonathan, was as much here as it was the NBA.
Yeah.
Needing to revitalize that market, to have it meaningful, Charlton.
Yeah.
Los Angeles had been dead, since Kobe was there.
Yeah.
And they needed some injection of enthusiasm and talent. And they did that with LeBron. So do you want to make him sit at home? I think not.
I think not. I think you'll see the Kings, they'll probably get blown out tonight in Denver. And I think the Lakers will find a way to get it. But we'll figure out what happens. I want to say sports is a billion-dollar industry. Boys and girls sports is the foundation to this billion-dollar industry. For every athletic and sporting event, you need athletic and event insurance. We work with Ben and Mark. They've been around half a century. They work with Big C Sports. Whether you're a pro team, a collegiate team, a high school team, or your mom and pop soccer league, when you reach out to them, let them know that Big C sent you. I want to just get your thoughts on Curry, Durant, Thompson, Green, and Cousins. Whether the Lakers make the playoffs or not. The Warriors are 9-0 with those players. That's an awful lot to overcome, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, and you think about it, this is in the second half of the season that they're 9-0 with those players.
Yeah.
That means that they're catching a stride with that 5 in the starting lineup.
Yeah.
That's an imposing lineup, Charlton, of 5 all-stars, that you're starting. The Warriors are starting an NBA all-star team, Charlton.
Yeah.
And so when you think about having to go up against that in a 7-game series, you might win one game here or there, Charlton, throughout the season against the Warriors.
Yeah.
But when you got to face them 7 nights, Charlton, in a series, you're not going to get through that.
Yeah, that's a lot to overcome, and it's just amazing how it's incredibly just to see that on one floor. They're like, you look at Davis down in New Orleans, and people talk about Davis, and that's it. Imagine talking about 5 guys that are legit all-star players. Whether they all get there or not, they're legit. The number 2, number you think about it too, the New Orleans Pelicans, they're still reeling from a trade that did not happen. They lost to the Magic last night, 118-88, and Anthony Davis was held to 3 points. And remember, I think the owner was going to be fined $100,000 if he didn't play in the game. So they say, okay, let him go score 3 points. And he's saying, I couldn't care less. But he also criticizes his teammates for not wanting to try. I think if you're not wanted someplace, you're getting booed by the home team, you still have a contract to play. But at the same time, you're going to get paid if you go in and play 1 minute. So if you're not wanted, why go out there and take the booing at home? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I think the media has labeled all these players as non-feeling, non-emotional, non-human. Is that you're just there for their pleasure, Charlton. These are human beings. If you criticize somebody in the media, they want to fight back.
Yeah.
And they say they have the right to. But they're saying that players don't have the right to. Your job is just to dribble and shoot a basketball.
Yeah.
You can't say anything other than what we ask you. And you have to perform whether you want to or not.
Yeah.
And I think that's wrong, Charlton, the way that the media, and we're part of the media, how they, look at players and what they do to players, Charlton. All these players are on the trading block.
Yeah.
So were they packing up suitcases, ready to leave? And then all of a sudden say, hey, unpack your bag. Hey, just forget about it. Don't worry about it. I know you might have been a little emotional behind that, but it's no big deal.
Right.
You still have to work here.
Yeah.
You ask any human being in the workplace. You walk into a place, and a guy says, we're thinking about terminating you come Friday.
Yeah.
And this is on Tuesday.
Yeah.
How much work are you going to do for them, Charlton?
Not that much.
I mean, just as a layman person, ask yourself, if you go to work on Tuesday and your supervisor, manager, or boss, whatever, say, I'm thinking about terminating you on Friday.
Yeah.
but I still need the same work production from you all week long.
Yeah.
Ask yourself, how much would you produce for them?
Yeah, that's funny, Big C. You know, it's Valentine's Day coming up tomorrow, so there's a lot of men and women all over the sports universe that need to buy somebody something. But do you really go out and make an effort to buy chocolate for somebody when she says, you know, I'm leaving you at the end of the month? I mean, unless you're Rush Limbaugh, why would you, if your wife's going to leave you or your girlfriend or a boyfriend, why would you put a lot of effort into that person? Don't blame him for being told he's not wanted. They were trying to hold on to him as an organization, but the fans are coming there booing. They're coming there booing, saying, you suck, we don't want you. Why would he go through that garbage? It wouldn't be the first time that fans have been threatening to players. I know you have security, but they can't do anything other than take somebody out of the building. But why give all your all for somebody who doesn't want you, Big C? The NBA, you think about it, the most NBA championship rings. Bill Russell has 11. Sam Jones has 10. Tom Hamilton, he has, I think Casey Jones also. And the standard is John Havlicek, 8. There's Jim Laskoff. There's a Frank Ramsey, Robert Horry, 7. Bob Cousy, the great Kareem Jabbar, and Jordan, Scottie Pippen have 6, but Jabbar has 5. Should have had another one. I thought they were robbed in Boston a couple of times. But give me that thought of those great teams with those rings and those championships compared to guys right now that don't even want to play in the game. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, you know, we hear all the time about Jordan's 6 championship rings.
Yeah.
And you just read off a list of players, Charlton, that laugh at 6, okay?
Yeah.
You know, it's almost like Tom Brady in that NFL 100 commercial when he turns to Baker Mayfield said, hold these. I mean, and that's what all those players can do that have more than 6 rings. I mean, you even think about Jordan in the modern era, Charlton. He doesn't have the most rings in the modern era.
No.
Bill Russell is never talked about. Sam Jones is never talked about, Charlton.
No.
Those guys were teammates in college also in San Francisco.
Yeah.
So when you think about that, Jonathan, not only did they win NCAA titles, but they went on and won NBA titles.
Yeah.
You know, a sign of greatness, and everybody will say, well, the game is different now.
Yeah.
The game has always evolved. But Wilt Chamberlain's 100 points is 100 points.
Yeah.
Wilt Chamberlain averaging 54 points a game is Wilt Chamberlain averaging 54 points a game.
Yeah.
Bill Russell's 11 NBA titles are still 11 NBA titles.
Yeah.
So when you think about if somebody has a scoring championship, an assist championship, a rebound championship, Jonathan, it doesn't change. It doesn't say, well, it was done then and he couldn't do it now.
Right.
That's what record books are for, Jonathan.
Yeah.
All records are there to be broken except for Bill Russell's 11 championships, okay?
Yeah. And,
so all the rest of them will be broken. So when we think about and we want to celebrate greatness of a sport, you have to pay homage to the guys, Charlton, who were able to put together 11 championships, 10 championships, 8 championships.
Yep.
Don't omit them, Charlton, when you're talking about the greatest of all time, just because you had a television with a cable channel on it and you saw an individual more than you saw anybody else.
Yeah, I think that's funny. Big Z, it's always, when you talk about breaking Wilt's record, he has a record that probably would never be broken. They just want to talk about it on TV. Tonight's NBA matchup, Brooklyn at Cleveland, Milwaukee at Indiana. Big game for Indiana. Got to get that win, but I doubt it. Detroit at Boston. Boston last night got over on Philly. I was surprised that happened, Big C, especially when they had dropped to the Lakers at home. Philadelphia at New York, Washington at Toronto. Toronto's got to win that, but Memphis is at Chicago. You have Houston at Minnesota. That's a game I really want to see. The Big Cat versus Five Steps Harden. Miami at Dallas, Sacramento at Denver. You have Golden State at Portland. In a game they may lose because it's before the All-Star break and they have a hard time winning up there anyway. Maybe they rest their players. And then Phoenix at LA. Give me your thought. What game appeals to you the most tonight, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, you know, I'm just a fan of the NBA. When you think about the teams that are in the playoff hunt, those are the games that have meaning.
Yeah.
I mean, guys who are on the outside looking in, you really wonder, what are they playing for, Charlton?
Yeah.
You know, when you're 10 games out of first place, I mean, watching the New York Knicks, 10 wins on the season.
Yeah.
I mean, even the Atlanta Hawks, who knocked off the Lakers last night, Charlton, don't have 20 wins.
No.
So when you look at those games, Charlton, and you draw to those arenas, They don't give the fans the reduction on the ticket price.
Yeah.
In New York, you're paying the same price.
Anyway.
Just like a fan in L.A. is going to pay the same price, Jonathan.
Yeah.
Win or lose.
Yeah.
But, I think they should give fans money back when you have these teams that are intentionally tanking now, Jonathan.
Yeah.
Trying to get in the college sweepstakes for the top draft pick.
Yeah.
The Cleveland Cavaliers, you're in the NBA title last year and you can't win 20 games this year.
Yeah.
So, this is what the NBA needs to do, Charlton. They need to give a fan the discount when they see that these teams are tanking.
Yeah.
And pay them to show up.
Yeah, they do that for meat. You go out and get some meat, it might sit good on the shelf for about 3 or 4 days. If it's there for a week, you might want to give a discount or just toss it out. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, once they get that little green around the edge,
yeah,
I'm walking away.
I understand, Big C. I learned my lesson too, Big C. Traveling, I understand what you mean. NBA.
Who was that? Canelo talk about he ate some tainted meat? Yeah, he's in there on that discount aisle talking about buying that meat. That's Canelo.
Well, when you eat meat through a needle, sometimes it's tainted, because just some rumors that I heard. NBA used to hold his All-Star game at the halfway point of the season. Now it's 2/3 through this season. I think the NBA, as much as mainstream loves to criticize when they have black broadcasters, there's some of the best broadcasters out there that don't get opportunities because they're not white, and they won't give them an opportunity, especially some talk show hosts. I mean, there's a lot of people, they know nothing. I'm not knocking anybody. I work with some of everybody in the business, from the great Al Michaels to the great John Madden, Howard Cosell Madden, but I've worked with so many people, and everybody's different flavor. But I just hear this wave of criticism coming toward Black Hall of Famers who are doing a players-only broadcast. They're not trying to be the A-team. They're just having some fun and bringing something to laugh about and not be so anal. And there are people saying, I changed the channel. Well, change the channel and don't turn it back if it bothers you that much.
Charlton, think about what you just said. The guy said he changed the channel.
Yeah.
But he took that long enough to hear the program. So he changed the channel once it was over. That's what people always say. I changed the channel. It's like when people said the NFL ratings were down, Charlton.
Yeah.
NFL ratings were never down.
Never down.
But there were black players that were making a stand. So, we don't want to see that.
Yeah.
We don't want to see that there's black unity in this country.
Yep.
We want to have separation between them, always angry and fighting with each other.
Yeah.
They can't come together for a common cause.
Yeah.
Just like with those broadcasters last night. And then you're listening to guys talk about, I changed the channel.
Yeah.
The only way you could change the channel is that you were sitting there listening.
Yeah.
So it was important enough for you to tune in, Joe.
Yeah. Yeah, I say change the channel and don't come back. We look at basketball on the college ranks, Big C. Number 2 Duke Blue Devils. They overcame 23 points. They were down 23 points. And they came back and beat number 16 ranked Louisville 71-69. And I'm just telling you, that's how basketball should be played. You can be down by 20 points and still go on a run, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, this just lets you know the quality of athletes that Duke have as well as a coach, Charlton.
Yeah.
To come from 23 down, this is don't give up.
Yeah.
Don't give up.
Yeah.
That's where they are. You got to believe.
Yeah.
And that's what Duke did last night, Charlton. You think about basketball in the state of Kentucky last night, in Louisville, where they had that 23-point deficit and was able to overcome the Cardinals, Charlton, and knock them off in the last moments of the game.
Yeah. I mean, I saw Utah do that to UCLA. And, Bill Walton's territory, and wasn't it packed? It's a shame to see Paula Pavilion not packed. And UCLA has won as many national championships as anybody, even though we got to go back to Wooden. But to see that great university not having the atmosphere that you have in some of the southern schools is a shame. Number 19, LSU Tigers, they won 6 straight road games, Big C. Tuesday night, 73-71 victory over number 5 Kentucky. The Tigers are now 10-1 in the SEC, and there's something about, I thought Kentucky was good for a bourbon and moonshine, not college basketball. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, like I said, it was a tough night in the state of Kentucky last night, basketball-wise.
Yeah.
You had the University of Kentucky and Louisville both fall, Charlton, on last-second shot.
Yeah.
You think about LSU, Charlton, they haven't had a dominant team like this in years. But,
Yeah.
they're 10-1 in the conference, Charlton, only trailing Tennessee.
Yeah.
A surefire pick for the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
But to go in the Rupp Arena and knock off your buddy John Calipari and his boys there, Charlton,
Yeah.
was a big night for the Tigers program.
Yeah, I like it. Is it big night for the distilleries too, Big C, to get my Jeff? NFL football. Joe Flacco, Super Bowl championship, got beat out by Lamar Jackson, who your friends Michelle and Kuiper said he should have played defensive back. He replaces Flacco in Baltimore. I think he went 6-1 at one point of the regular season. He's the quarterback of the future. So your friend John Elway hires a guy, brings him into Denver, that was beaten out by a guy that pundit said should have been a defensive back. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, is this a sign of John Elway not being able to get it right at quarterback?
Yeah.
I mean, as great as John was as a player, he has been atrocious as a general manager, Charlton, in Denver.
Yeah.
You think about all the quarterbacks that he has brought in, Charlton, since he's been there in Denver. Trevor Siemian, Brock Osweiler, Mark Sanchez, Charlton.
Yeah.
He just got Case Keenum in.
Yeah.
Paxton Lynch, Kelly, Peyton Manning, who was hurt half the time, Charlton.
Yeah.
And now he's bringing in Flacco.
Yeah.
John Elway does not get the criticism, Charlton, of not being a quarterback guru and understanding talent.
Yeah.
Think about if he was a black guy, Charlton. If he was Ozzie Newsome. Ozzie Newsome hit a home run every time he brought a quarterback into Baltimore, Charlton.
Yep.
And never got the praise. John Elway is getting the praise every day in Denver.
Yeah.
And has done nothing, Charlton, with it. I mean, Joe Flacco, you bring Joe Flacco in, Denver didn't have an offensive line last year, Charlton.
Nope.
Case Keenum running for his life.
Yeah.
You got rid of your top receiver in Demaryius Thomas.
Yeah.
And you got a young receiver core, and you're talking about cutting Emmanuel Sanders.
Yeah.
So what is Joe Flacco going to have to work with, Charlton?
He can't run.
So you can bring a guy in who's immobile behind a makeshift offensive line, Charlton. And if he's not successful, who will be to blame?
The
will
black
it be
coach.
Joe Flacco,
The coach
or will it be John Elway?
How about Joseph? Didn't they fire Joseph? He said he would have made a mistake, hired him. Is that what he said, Big C?
Yeah, he said he made a mistake hiring Vance Joseph. He should have never done that, Charlton. I should have never hired that black guy because he's the reason I couldn't draft the quarterback.
That's crazy, Big C. You know something's legal up in Denver, Big C. The NFL, this is serious, though. NFL and all of football have a new threat. It's the evaporated insurance market. The NFL no longer has general liability insurance covering head trauma. Just one carrier is willing to provide that workers' compensation coverage for NFL teams. Now it reaches all the way down to Pop Warner. We talked about the CTE that the NFL fought back on. Now if you have insurance companies not willing to provide that type of coverage, Big C, you have too many car accidents, they'll just drop you, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, that's what the NFL is. It's a car accident waiting to happen, Charlton. You think about all the years that the NFL denied that there was any head trauma.
Yeah.
We talked about the great Bob Costas being fired from NBC for bringing that up. But here's the insurance companies not willing to insure the NFL.
Yeah.
Bob Costas got fired for telling people that, Charlton.
Yeah.
But insurance companies have gone out, Charlton, a decade ago. There was a dozen companies out there that you could get insurance from.
Yeah.
Now it's down to one.
Yeah.
And you think about that, Charlton. When you sign your kids up in Pop Warner and even in high school football, Charlton, you have to sign up. You have to pay for insurance.
Yeah, you do.
For your kids to be able to play youth sports from the Pop Warner to the high school level, you have to pay for insurance. So you think about the number of kids now, Charlton, that won't be covered under trauma insurance that play sports.
Yep.
On all those different levels, Charlton.
That's true.
And people want to say, no, the game is safe. Here it is. Think about it. If you can't get insurance on your car, you can't drive.
That's true.
If you do drive, you're going to get a ticket. You got a chance of losing your driving privileges, Charlton.
Yeah, that's true.
You can't get insurance as a football player.
Wow.
Think about how devastating that is, and we know how many injuries occur. Not just head injuries, but leg injuries, Charlton.
Yep.
All the injuries that are occurring in football every day. And now all of the insurance companies are backing away.
Yeah.
You think about it. I guess it would, Obamacare, once they abolish that, it didn't even touch the sports, Charlton.
Yeah, well, I thought they could get Trump care. Didn't POTUS say he would insure everybody? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, I guess this is what Trump has done. Trump has limited down to one insurance company
Yep.
that will insure athletes, Sean.
Yeah.
But he said Trump Care will cover everybody. But there's one
Yeah.
insurance company.
Yep.
So think about the premiums if you only have one insurance company.
Yeah.
How high that is, Charlton, for an athlete to get insured.
Yeah,
So when we talk
yep.
about sports and politics, Charlton,
Yeah.
that they mix and other people say they don't mix, think about that. Politics have eliminated insurance that football players can get.
Isn't that amazing? Speaking of that, after Alex Smith's devastating leg injury, will the Redskins draft a quarterback or will they acquire one of free agency? Since 2010, they've had 9 starting quarterbacks. Your cousin, Kirk Cousins, Robert Griffith, Rex Grossman, Donovan McNabb, Alex Smith, Colt McCoy, Josh Johnson, this John Beck, and Mark Sanchez. And talking about the injury that Alex Smith just had, you think about when they start cutting down on covering certain body parts, Big C, it's just a trickle-down effect, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, it is a trickle-down effect. I mean, I don't ever expect Alex Smith to come back into the NFL, Charlton. I can't see any medical staff clearing him medically to play and saying that leg will be sound, Charlton, because it's just one hit away from crumbling and amputation the next time, Charlton.
Yeah.
So when we look at athletes and what they go through all the time, I mean, Alex Smith is the most notable injury of the season, Charlton. But those injuries occur all the time. We saw it in the Super Bowl, Patrick Chung break his arm.
Yeah.
In the Super Bowl, standing on the sideline the rest of the game
right.
in a sling.
Yeah.
But you know, these injuries occur at any time. They're freakish of nature with athletes because of the violence that your body goes through on every play.
Yeah.
So you're always one step away from injuries, Charlton. And you think about the Redskins, 9 quarterbacks since 2010, Charlton.
Yeah.
They're averaging more than a quarterback a year
Yeah.
from a starting perspective.
Yeah.
So, you know, you got to look at this team, Charlton. If you're a quarterback, is that really where you want to play other than a paycheck?
That's a very good point, Big C. We know it's a position everybody says you want to play, but there's also a lot of risk in it, too. I know the league's trying to protect players. You think about there's a lot of knock against Dwayne Haskins, and then you have Murray out of Oklahoma, the Heisman Trophy winner, being 1-year college starters in football. But look at the quarterbacks who were also 1-year starters. Cam Newton took the Panthers to the Super Bowl, and you have Mitch Trubisky. The Bears took them to the playoffs maybe a lot sooner than a lot of people, even though I thought the defense was more responsible for that than Trubisky. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you think about that, Charlton, because there's been a lot of knock against Murray and Haskins only being 1-year starters in college.
Yeah.
Look at the quarterbacks who came out last year in the draft, Charlton.
Yeah.
All of them were at least 2-year starters
Yeah.
in the draft, okay?
Yeah.
Only one had a winning record, the black kid.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
So let's be honest about that. You know,
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson was the only one with a winning record. Everybody said that Josh Rosen was the most NFL ready.
Yeah.
Sam Darnold was a potential Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
You know, Josh Allen up in Buffalo had a cannon arm.
Yeah.
You know, Baker Mayfield, everybody said he was skittish, and there was skepticism about him being the first overall pick.
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson was supposed to go play defensive back.
Yeah.
But these 2 young men coming out of college right now, Charlton, when you think about Mitch Trubisky,
Yeah.
who's a pure drop-back passer, that's what Dwayne Haskins is.
Yeah.
You know, 13 starts at North Carolina, only won 7 games, Charlton, of those 13. Dwayne Haskins was 13-1.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
He was 13-1 as a starter at Ohio State.
Yeah.
And we saw that Murray was 12-2.
Yeah.
And he's akin to Cam Newton athletically, Charlton, and what he does,
Yeah.
just not the same size. But when you talk about what those 2 guys did, Charlton, coming in after just 1 year starting in college football,
Yeah.
and both of them getting their teams into the playoffs in a very short stint turnaround
Yeah.
in their NFL careers, you can expect the same thing from Murray and Haskins, Charlton.
Yeah, I would expect that just looking at what they've done in their careers. They're athletic, they're intelligent, they have more than what's called football IQ. They have the IQ to go out and dominate other men. Big names in NFL players that can be cut by the draft. Eli Manning, quarterback of the Giants. There's so many players, Big C. Tannehill, you have Gerald McCoy, you have this Vic Beasley, Blake Bortles. There's so many players that you think about. Well, you have Emmanuel Sanders, wide receiver for the Broncos. Deshaun Jackson, wide receiver Buccaneers. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. LeSean McCoy, who can't seem to find someone who wants him to stay, even though he's a great player. And then you think of Donald Penn, offensive tackle for the Raiders. Carlos Hyde, running back to the Jaguars. The list goes on and on. Give me your thoughts on how we might see a changing of the guard from these great players that we know so well. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, this is what we always talk about when you look at NFL money. You get these players, they sign what seems to be a huge contract, Charlton, but there's no guarantees wrapped in those contracts.
That's right.
It looks good on the surface. Oh, he signed a 3-year, $37 million contract.
Right.
Yeah, but only $7 million of it was guaranteed.
Yeah.
$9 million of it was guaranteed.
Yeah.
So they cut a play on a winch, Charlton. When you look at some of those top players that you name, you're talking about contracts, Charlton, from, the minimum contract I'm going to say is probably $7 million, and they go all the way up to $20 million.
Yeah. They do.
For next year.
Yeah.
Well, teams are willing to take the salary cap hit, Charlton, because it will only be about 20% of the money that's on their contract, anywhere from 15 to 20% of the money that's on their contract that will hurt them salary cap-wise, Charlton.
Yeah.
But this is what they talk about when players saying they got to get all the money that they can at that point, Charlton. And people say, wow, but they're not cutting into those quarterbacks that didn't make the playoffs, Charlton. Think about that.
No, they
You got the 6 highest paid quarterbacks in the NFL. They're not on the cut list.
No.
They got pay raises last year and didn't even make the playoffs.
Yeah, that's funny. I think all's fair in love and war, and I love sports, I love politics, I love entertainment, but I got to share a little story. It takes about a minute. Today, out with lunch with a business partner, and we talked about some politics as well as doing, building up some mortgage companies all over the country, Big C. And we did this little experiment. We held up this partition, and we called it building our own wall. Okay, we built the wall in a restaurant full of primarily mainstream people. It's amazing how they were looking, trying to see what's on the other side of that wall. It's almost as if they would get up and walk by and wonder, why we had this partition that we put up. We were just doing some what they call dream building on, building a dream board, right? But I noticed this experiment of putting up that partition to keep people out. Well, these people were Caucasian that could not see in. People were getting up, looking and coming by and walking by the table, and they would just stare a little bit, taking that glance as they were trying to see what's on the other side of that wall. Well, I wonder how the Native Americans felt when they were being swept up, murdered, land taken from them, and put on these reservations. I wonder how Native Americans felt. And I wonder how people of color feel, Mexicans that are coming up from Latin America, and we have a POTUS, a pale white guy, talking about building a wall who looks just like the one and the skin color that stole lands from the Native Americans. Who should be afraid of who? And then we hear our mainstream broadcasters saying they hate the players-only broadcast. I'll never listen to it. I turned that garbage off. They should do it like they're in the real barbershop and eat some fried chicken. That kind of garbage. I hear it in Northern California. Well, we built our own wall today, Big C, and it made some of the mainstream feel uncomfortable because they kept staring. And I wonder if that experiment in a restaurant causes people grief. How can you stand behind a man that leads our country that wants to keep out a whole group of people? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, when you think about the rhetoric that's used and the people that follow the rhetoric, Charlton, it airs on stupidity is what it comes down to. To sit there and say that you can fence people in there, and that's what people are not understanding. He's saying that he wants to put a fence across the southern border.
Yeah.
That stops you from migrating anywhere.
Yeah.
Look at the number of Americans, Charlton, that go to Mexico every day, every week, every year.
Yeah.
American citizens going to Mexico. How would they feel if Mexico said, okay, we want this wall up, and we don't want you in?
Exactly.
Think about all the property that American citizens own in Mexico, Charlton.
Yeah.
The timeshares that they own, the condos that they own down there.
Yeah.
Just the straight-up land that American citizens own in Mexico, Charlton.
Yep.
Think about if the Mexico government wanted to say, we're just going to confiscate all of your land.
Yeah.
Eminent domain. We're going to use that on you because of Trump.
Yeah.
You all are going to lose money. But you tell me this, Charlton. All of the Americans that go down to Mexico every day of the year, do they feel a need for a wall, Charlton?
No.
Is anybody asking them, are they in any of those polling scenarios that they say?
No.
Are they the ones saying, we need a wall because we don't want to go down on vacation?
Right.
It is one of the number one destinations for American vacations, Charlton. Mexico.
Yeah.
And I don't hear any of these people saying that they're scared of Mexicans.
No. That's just coming from Coda. So when you see something wrong, you got to shout it out. If not, then you're part of the problem. I love bringing what we bring to Big C Sports. You want to hear it on other sports shows. I know it's Black History, but
every broadcaster,
yeah,
whether it's sports, whether it's news,
yeah,
any type of, they've all been to Mexico, Charlton.
yeah,
They've all gone to Mexico on vacation.
yeah.
But they won't tell you how wonderful a country it is.
No, they
How
won't.
great a time they had down there with their family, their significant other stuff. They won't speak about that at all.
Yep.
But they will sit there and spew the rhetoric of the White House, Charlton, about how terrible those people are.
Yeah.
But they love going down there spending time, Charlton.
And they love drinking the libations,
Tequila.
the tequila and all the other stuff that comes, the Corona, etc. I know it's Black History Month. I love being a Black American. I love being a person of color. I love diversity. I love everything that's fair. I hope that we're mindful of people who are being oppressed. If you're mainstream, you got to stand up against it. Yes, sir. Go right ahead, see.
Doesn't the NFL go down there every year?
Yep.
And so the NFL is saying that we're scared to go to Mexico with our players.
Isn't that something?
All these multi-million-dollar investments, we're scared to go down to Mexico with them, Charlton. We're scared. As a matter of fact, I think they have 2 games down there next year, Charlton.
Yeah.
So the NFL, all those owners who gave Trump money for his campaign,
yeah,
they say nothing bad about Mexico, Charlton. They go down there, Azteca Stadium down twice a year.
Yep.
And play games.
And have a great time. And so I just hope people are mindful of that. If you turn your back on other people being harmed, who's going to be there for you when you're the one being harmed? Big C. Back in the day, there was a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young man, rumble. Big C. What are you looking forward to in this sports universe?
Charlton, I'm loving college basketball right now because the excitement in these games every night, it means something. Night after night, we saw 2 great performances in the state of Kentucky last night, Charlton, with both home teams losing, though. But, the number 1 team in the country is out of the SEC also, Charlton, the University of Tennessee.
Yes.
They're playing South Carolina tonight, Charlton. Will they hang on to that number 1 seeding in the country?
Well, I tell you what, it's all fair in love and war. Whether it's players only or mainstream good old boys only, you can find it all every Monday through Friday at 5 to 6 p.m. worldwide when you follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the number 1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the number 1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. As we always tell you, there's never, ever an excuse for domestic violence. If you know any man or woman going through that garbage, please call 911 because no man or woman should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. And as we always tell you, on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.